Welcome back to Bald and Sassy. We have another guest in the studio, Miss Kari. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Fantastic. A little tired,
Yeah,
but that is life, right?
we're old.
Shh, no. We
Just
talked
kidding.
about I'm young.
I come alive at night.
It's a maniac.
I'm a night owl.
I used to be.
Who?
I hope I will be again one day.
I said I'm a night owl.
Who?
Yeah.
You're
You're not a dad yet.
Hey, it's you know how they say dress for the job you want? I just joke for the job I want. Hashtag dad jokes.
There you go.
It's a dad joke about dad jokes. It's the ultimate dad joke.
Mm.
Yeah, it's great. Well, this week's going to be a little bit different format. Kari is actually going to be interviewing each one of us independently and going through just a little bit of our background, how we got here, why we're doing this, all that kind of stuff. It's a little turn the tables on us. Are you excited, Chris?
Oh yeah. I think it's good for other people to actually hear a little bit of how my answers have their meaning.
We're real people with real stories. What are you most excited about?
What am I most excited about?
In life? No, I'm just...
I mean, as far as sharing, just for people to kind of understand where I'm coming from with my answers.
That's awesome. Are you excited, Kari?
Very. I just want to sit here and be like,
You're famous now.
Oh, that too. Yes, thank you.
And your kids are gonna be like, you're on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
And Instagram.
That'd be good.
I still don't have it.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for validating me.
Just so you know, I found this out. When you get on TikTok, anyone who has your number saved in their phone gets a notification. So all of a sudden, like half my office was like following on TikTok. I was like, oh, well,
You're the famous one.
I don't know how this works, but you're welcome to social media. All right, so yeah, it's gonna be a little bit different. We might be over 2 weeks, might be over 1 week. You're just gonna have to wait and find out. All right, yeah. See you on the flip side. Peace.
Hey, Chris, how are you today?
Doing well, Kari. How about yourself?
I'm great. I've had the privilege of getting to know Chris over the last 3 years at Camp Eagle. And today we're just going to let you guys in on a few of his deep, dark secrets from the past as well.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yes. All right, dude. So tell us, what was your faith like growing up?
So I grew up in the Catholic Church, and my faith was really strained kind of growing up. It was very much mom dragging me to church and going to Sunday school until I was old enough to actually attend masses and receive communion.
And were these like in Latin?
No, thank goodness it was not in Latin.
It
was in English. But yeah, it was very much a classroom setting until I was old enough to get communion. Mm-hmm. And then once I was, it was very much the stand up, sit down, very dry messaging and hymns. And it was kind of hard as a kid to really get into that.
Okay. So more of an obligatory situation.
Very much.
Okay. Did you feel like you had a faith as a young person, or was it more of an adult situation?
I would say I believed in God. Mm-hmm. But I think because everything felt so forced upon me that it was okay. My mom believes in God. My dad was never really a believer. My dad left before I started high school. So when he was gone, my mom forced Catholic high school upon me as well. So she basically went overboard with the pushing me into the faith and kind of dragging me along with her. So I would say that I believed in God, but I didn't really have a full belief system and felt wanted in the church.
Okay. Would you say you kind of had adopted her faith, or that was more her faith than yours, or?
Yeah, I think eventually I kind of adopted her faith when I was in high school, and then when I went through the confirmation process. That was kind of when I chose a little bit for myself, but it still never felt truly right.
Like authentic, or?
Yeah.
Was that around like 13, 14?
No, that was like 17.
17. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, who were some of the people that impacted you most, whether it was at church or home or anywhere else? Maybe your Catholic school?
Yeah. So there would be a few people that impacted me. I'd say there's probably 5, and all of them different ways. One, my mom was kind of the bedrock or foundation for me learning faith and kind of learning about God and Jesus and being dragged to Catholic school. So I'll give her credit for the foundation, but very much it was never my faith. It was more hers. And then there was 3 people that I lost my senior year of high school within 2 months of graduating from high school. So all 3 of those kind of played a factor in pushing me away from God. I lost a friend who was under the influence of some stuff and went through a brick wall with his car.
Wow.
And into the front of somebody's house. So a lot of momentum there.
Wow.
And then lost my grandpa, and then lost my mom's cousin, all within a month or 2 months of graduation, but within a month of each other. And that was a big part of me having faith, but not fully understanding God at that point in time. And that was part of why I got a tattoo on my back of a cross. It was kind of my cross to carry and a reminder of those that I've lost. And then the final one was a teacher my senior year, Father Leonard. He always believed in me. So much so that he felt that I had a calling to maybe not necessarily be a priest, but be a deacon, be able to have a family, kind of walk that path. He passed away several years ago, but he was probably the most influential person in my belief in God.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Very good. When was the first time that you felt a sense of calling or purpose in your life?
As far as my faith, I would say it was coming into Christianity, separate from the Catholic faith, with my wife and her family, kind of finding my place back in the church again, and then Allison calling out to my congregation and saying, "Hey, we need leaders for freshman guys," and I heard that and took it to heart and ran with it. And I'd say that was pretty much the one true calling that I ever felt like I had.
I love that. How old were you?
32. Yeah, I was 32.
Okay, so we've got a 17-year-old confirmation or kind of decision to follow, and then maybe some pushback after graduating, trying to understand.
I did not attend a church from the age of 18 to 29.
Okay.
So
is 29 when you and Megan got together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Was that a tough transition, going from Catholicism to a Protestant church, or how did you grapple with all that?
So I guess I still am not really clear on what Protestant or Baptist, like I still don't know the difference between all of those. I think Preston Trail is non-denominational, or is it Protestant?
I heard y'all talking about this in one of the former episodes. So yeah, like my understanding, and I'm not a scholar on these things, but is that over the overarching umbrella of Christianity, you have Catholics on one side and Protestants on the other.
Okay.
There's like some other stuff too from back in the day, but basically. And so anything that falls under Protestantism are kind of the traditional denominations you hear of in America, whether that be Baptist, Methodist, Episcopal, Presbyterian, Lutheran,
A lot of them.
Bible churches, Pentecostal, right, all the things. So, and then over the last, 20 or 30 years, I feel like we've had that big growth of non-denominational churches and or Bible churches, community churches, that kind of thing. So yes, that's what Preston Trail is.
Okay.
And Catholics are still Christians. They just have a little bit different way of skinning the cat.
Yes. I always knew that Catholics were Christians, but they were separated from the rest of the Christians.
Yeah. So for you, it wasn't, didn't have like a big hang up about what type of denomination you were involved in necessarily.
No, because of how dry Catholicism
your experience with it had
mass
been.
was. Yeah. I was open to the idea of attending a
Cool.
Christian church, a Protestant church, and kind of seeing what that was about. It was very different
Sure.
going in and immediately being hit with music.
Yeah.
You know, and now I understand it's worship, but yeah, to me that was always like a mini concert before you'd get into service. So
was Preston Trail the first church you went to, or
it was not?
Okay.
So we were still in San Diego when I went with her family and went to, I couldn't tell you the name of that church.
Yeah.
But it was great. They had great worship leaders.
Yeah.
The girl that was singing was, you know, selling CDs. Like, she had an amazing voice. But yeah, that was, I'm sorry, got lost.
No, you're great. So I know in my personal relationship with my husband, he was a big influence on me when I was coming back around to the faith. It's not that I left the faith, but I was just going through about a 5-year season of making my faith my own as an adult, young adult. And I was still questioning a few things or holding on to a few things that I didn't understand about God's word or his character.
Okay.
And Jared really like called me out and helped me kind of come under God's authority and realize that my questions don't matter. His ways and thoughts are higher than mine. And that's the beauty in it. I don't have to put him in a box and understand him. So was she helpful or influential in your faith?
She was helpful in bringing me back, but I think Father Leonard was probably the one that set the groundwork. It was a world religion class.
Oh, yes.
And he kind of opened up my eyes to Buddhism and a few of the other religions around the world. And what kind of stood out to me with Buddhism was it wasn't necessarily a religion. It was more a way of life. And there was one priest or one former priest in the Catholic Church that started to incorporate Buddhism and kind of, he ended up writing a book, kind of a blend of those two together, which honestly I find is how I kind of view Christianity or non-denominational Christianity, living the right way and then not having the strictness of the Catholic Church. So that kind of blend and my eyes being open to that when I was 18 were probably what really made me be able to be open to it in my late 20s, early 30s.
Nice. So I guess I'm trying to piece together like 18 to 29. Were you like living for God during that time, or were you angry with him because of those deaths in your life? Or
I was living for myself and I wasn't searching for God. I didn't feel like I had that absence.
Okay.
And I also was trying to mend my relationship with my father. I was going through my first serious, heartbreak.
Sure.
So there was just a lot of things kind of going on, a lot of moving around, a lot of challenges at that point in my life. And I didn't find myself searching for God. And if you're not looking for him, he's looking for you. But if you're not seeking him out, you're not going to see him.
He's not going to push it on you.
Yeah.
He's a gentleman. So was there a certain time that you felt like you kind of had a wake up call or like a sense of, I'm ready to live different, or you know what I mean? Not the calling that Allison said and you answered, but.
Honestly, I would say that probably happened very recently, and that was a factor of me getting baptized. I think there was kind of a wake up call during this last camp of you're never going to be fully ready. You're living the lifestyle and you're choosing this path. So yeah, I would say very recently, a couple weeks ago.
I love it.
Kind of do that.
So you were already married, attending church, serving in a church, and still finding what that looks like for you. Like there's no right answer or correct age or stage, right?
Right.
It's a process and a journey.
Yeah. And I think religion is personal.
100%.
The more people try to force it upon you, the less I feel like you really get connected. And not having a community in the church growing up, I never felt like I had any really close friends. That it was just like, okay, I want to see this person at church.
Yeah.
not having that tie there makes it hard to really get into the faith and really start embracing everything.
Sure. So now that you have that community, it's more attractive and more compelling.
Yes.
Yeah, love that. Well, if you are looking back in the rearview mirror, what is a piece of advice you would give your 17-year-old self?
I would say don't let other people force you in faith. That would really be the main driver. Find what feels right to you at church. Find your church home. Try different churches. Don't necessarily just go to the one that somebody else is telling you to go to. That would probably be. I think if I would have had that sooner and I would have found somewhere that I felt like I belonged, I would have had faith from a more solid faith from a much earlier age.
That makes sense. I think a lot of times it can even be like a fear-driven belief or faith. And I think youth can get that message from whether that be like a head senior pastor or a youth pastor or at a camp or someone, and that's heartbreaking, right? But we don't want anyone coming into the faith for a reason of fear.
I did go to a Christian church because my mom was kind of understanding that I wasn't feeling the Catholic church. And I had a few friends on my soccer team that went to a Christian church, and I kind of went to their youth group, but I never felt right. Just immediately going into the worship, and it was, the words were on a projector and there was maybe 5 to 10 people in the room. It never felt like a real community.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say that I did have Christianity exposed to me when I was still in high school, but it never felt right.
Yeah. So it's subjective, personal, like you said. We all have our own experiences with God that nobody else can explain or understand. There's no confirming or denying what a person experiences between them and God. So yeah. So you kind of explained like maybe a lie about life or faith that you bought into back then, kind of that you had to go or were being forced into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say for me, it was the Catholic belief of, you're saved by God's grace, but if you're not actively going to church every Sunday and you're not actively going to confession and basically on a weekly basis so that you can actually receive communion, and if you weren't checking all of these boxes, then you weren't a real Catholic. And I just that was probably the biggest lie to me. That may not actually be a lie, but that was a lie in my faith.
Yeah. We joke sometimes at Preston Trail that we have a lot of people in our church who are recovering Catholics and recovering Baptists.
Okay.
Because even though they are vastly different, there are some similarities.
Yep.
And having that checkbox kind of faith is where you see those overlap. People feeling like they have to do all these things and or not do all these other things in order to earn God's favor or grace or acceptance into heaven or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
All right. Do you feel like pride or fear or comparison ever held you back in your maybe 20s or earlier years?
I don't think so, but I think part of that was I wasn't walking close to God at that point in time. I think that there was a fear of, will I be saved? Will I go to hell because I'm not doing these things? So, I mean, Catholic guilt is a very real thing, and everybody talks about it. So kind of having that instilled in me in an early age would, I guess, be a little bit of the fear sense there.
Okay. But it didn't hold you back too much because you were very open-minded to faith when it came to you at 29 or whatever, you were ready.
Right. I don't think that I ever lost faith that there was a God. I just wasn't actively seeking him out and practicing it.
Yep. I gotcha. What do you think would have been some habits or mindsets that might have helped you grow faster?
I think the mindset of faith is personal, and finding a community would have helped me to grow my faith a lot quicker. Realizing that the Christian church, with that small group, um, they were just trying to be welcoming, and I was very hesitant to sing. I don't have a musically gifted voice. So the singing in worship, I think, always kind of scared me a little bit away from
Sure.
Christianity, especially in such a small group. Um, so I would say just finding a place that feels welcoming to you and finding a community that can really um, push you to be a better person and grow together with a group.
Yes. Your counterpart echoed the same. Community, community, community.
I think we're very much of the same mindset when it comes to that.
Yeah. And I feel like as a young person, it's hard to understand the value in that. Like we do, or looking back on my own life, at least, I only know my own experience, but I definitely understood the social part of my church growing up. I had great friends. I know you said you unfortunately didn't have that experience, but like I loved going to see my friends at church and wanted to go to camp with them and mission trips and all the things. And I did have a faith with God on my own, a personal faith, but I think I didn't understand that you needed to be real with those people. Like I think
Okay.
I probably had a facade.
Okay.
And maybe even more so from being a pastor's daughter, maybe I felt like there was this expectation that we needed to be perfect. And, I didn't want to reflect anything poorly on my dad or something. I don't know. But now as an adult, I feel so much more appreciative of what community offers when you're willing to be transparent and vulnerable and let those people know the true you. And it's still hard for me. Like, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't want to make it all about me or drama or whatever, but it's important to grow the friendships and bonds there and for us all to grow in Christ together too.
Yeah.
Because we can learn from each other.
And I had a couple friends that I considered friends in high school that I was on the soccer team with, that after we graduated, we were hanging out. I was really close friends with his younger brother, and he was just like, yeah, we didn't invite you to things because we just like, it always felt weird. It didn't like, I don't know, you just didn't really click with us. But now that I'm hanging out with you after high school, it's just like, this guy's really cool. Like, this would have been really cool to actually like spend more time together when we were a little bit younger. So yeah, you never know when community is actually going to hit you.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'll still send texts to that guy and his younger brother.
Yeah.
They were both at my wedding a few years back. But yeah, community is extremely important, and it's opening up and having people that you're comfortable with doing that. Even if you think it might be a burden, as soon as they do the same thing, you realize it's not a burden.
It's a blessing.
And yeah, it's a huge blessing for all parties.
Yes. Yeah. Win-win. All right. We're going to switch up the pace for a second and do a couple of rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So at age 20, what is more important, ambition or humility?
I think age 20, you're really trying to start off your career. So I feel like ambition is probably the rapid fire answer there.
That's how I felt. Chris said humility. And I was like, why? Tell me more. Because I think at 20, I was like, let's go conquer the world.
So I think I very much was humble and had the humility at that point in time. And that helped me to grow faster, and helped me with ambition, because if you're just pure ambition, then you're not going anywhere. You're stepping on people along the way.
Toxic. Yeah.
So humility is very important, and that's why it's one of the two options. But yeah, if you're starting off your career and trying to make a name for yourself, I feel like ambition's slightly above humility.
Great. All right. Bible every day or church every week?
I'm very much a church every week and a verse daily type of person.
Okay. And then how about leading a group or being led well?
So this is very much a walking before running thing for me. I feel like you need to be led well before you can ever lead others. So I would say being led well is more important.
Very good. All right. A few more questions. You're doing great. Um, you haven't really alluded to making mistakes necessarily along the way, but surely you've had your fair share of them, like most of us have. Did you feel like there was a theme of God showing up for you even in those moments? Or can you look back and see how he was in the details or still with you or present?
I think all of the adversity that I've kind of had to overcome in life, in terms of not having a ton of money growing up, we did just fine. We lived in a nice house, but my mom made it work. But having a divorced family made things a little bit tighter, and I qualified for financial aid because of that, and that was a blessing. Ended up not having a lot of debt going into college, so um, but overcoming adversities and kind of realizing how that has impacted me um, is probably what I would say there. I went to college originally and was studying for a couple of years at a university called Humboldt State. Went there for 2 years on an engineering scholarship. Ended up leaving after doing all math and science for 2 years, leaving with 55 units. And when I left there, I didn't know that I needed 60 units to transfer to another 4 year. So I had to go to community college for a year and a half to do all my gen eds, because I had only taken one section of gen eds, which was math and science, because I was on an engineering scholarship, and they were trying to force me through their program, taking 19 units a semester while also playing soccer. Yeah, you want a way to get depressed in college. Overloading yourself very quickly in your freshman year is a good way to do that. And so I ended up doing the 6-year route on my degree, but I ended up finding myself in San Diego, which I feel like opened my door to a lot of great people, where I ended up meeting my wife. So there, after going through all of those hardships, and realizing where I had the struggles in my life, looking back now and seeing how I had to overcome those, and the people that I've met along the way, and the relationships that I have now in order that came from some of those, I think would be how I would answer that.
Yeah. It's like God allows us to go through some painful things, whether we bring it on ourselves or it's the consequence of other people or whatever it might be. But when we, like, sometimes I have trouble forgiving myself for certain things or seasons or whatever. But then I'm like, when I can embrace it and realize who it made me become, and like you said, all the people that I met along the way, and now like who I'm married to and who my children are, and how that would be so vastly different. I'll cry thinking about that. Like I don't want anything to, I want the people I have right now. So
Right.
Thank you, God, for protecting me from whatever other paths I might have found myself down, and that you opened the doors to make this one work out for me.
Yeah, it's always hard to see in the moment when you're feeling all that hurt, but
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
there's a bigger plan for you.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like your view of grace or like self-identity has changed over time?
Absolutely.
Do tell.
Well, I would say grace, I feel like, has changed for me, because my viewpoint when I was a kid was, okay, Jesus died for you, and you have grace, but you still need to check all of these boxes to kind of earn it, or to be able to really receive the grace. Whereas now I see grace as, no, it's given to you, whether you check boxes or not.
Freely.
Yeah, it's freely given to you. Obviously you still need to try to live like Jesus and constantly try to improve yourself. But yeah, that grace has very much changed from when I was in high school and younger to my version of grace now.
Same. How about identity? Like, do you feel like you currently have your identity in Christ? And did you always, or when did that evolve?
No, yeah, I would say identity in Christ has been something recently, since starting to volunteer with home group. that has become a part of my life. That has become every Sunday this is happening and we're not missing this, as opposed to, no, I'd rather just go play around a golf Sunday morning and, don't worry about church this week. So yes, it has very much become part of my identity, so much so that now I have said yes to attempting to do a podcast. So
You're going public.
yeah.
Well, you have 2 little girls, right? And one on the way.
Yep.
How do you want to try to help communicate these ideals to them so that they can grasp onto it at a young age?
I'm hoping that it won't be something that they feel like is forced upon them. That they're already telling me, or at least the one that's able to talk and communicate, wants to go see their friends at school, which school is church, and go be around community. So yeah, they look forward to seeing my guys or the girls from camp. Like 2 Sundays ago, Hazel just ran off with Riley, and just they played together and talked for
So
like
cute.
5 minutes while me and Megan were talking to somebody else. And just like, okay, where did Hazel go? Oh, there she is with Riley. Okay, they're just chilling on the couch over there. This
That's
is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extended family.
So I think as long as they feel like they have their community and they're continuing to want to go, and they see me and Megan setting an example for them of how we live out faith, then I'm hoping that it's just a very natural and fluid thing for them to be able to do that.
Yes. So you mentioned that you recently got baptized. I don't know if you've shared that full story on the podcast yet.
I believe that will be dropping that'll be dropping this upcoming episode or Monday. So that will have already been
Perfect.
by the time this one comes out.
Okay, because I hadn't heard it yet, but it is coming. All right.
Yes.
So it somewhat answers this next question. You obviously agree with the fact that it's never too late to start growing into who God made you to be. Yep. Not that you're like some old fogey, but right, there's a continuum, and we all hit it at different times. So
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, your faith, when it feels right to you, again, we keep talking about it being personal. You never know when it's going to hit. And I think the thing that's really important is you never know how your story is going to impact others. Other people relate to very, minute things that you might not find as that impactful. And other people kind of hearing that and hearing your struggles, or hearing what kind of got you through something, or how you have faith even after going through things, can lead to their journey kind of changing and taking a turn for the better. So
doesn't matter your girls, you're not going to push that at a certain age. You want it to be authentic and when they feel like it's right.
I mean, we'll continue to go. And if they ever find themselves really being challenged and not wanting to go, I feel like we should be able to just sit down and kind of talk about that and see where the struggle is and see if we can work through that. I won't be forcing anything upon them. And when you kind of have your walk is when you have your walk. If they feel like they're not really there at a young age, all me and Megan can do is just continue to try to be supportive and try to live our lives the best that we can and set an example for what we want them to do.
Yep. And pray.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I've loved getting to chat with you more today and learn about your faith journey. And I love that you and Chris are, like I said, taking this public. It's so cool that y'all are influencing the next generation in this way. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing this.
I don't know how to turn it off.
Yeah, I don't know either.